Having established peace with the Klingon Empire, the United Federation of Planets once again came into conflict with the Romulan Star Empire in 2311 at a cost of thousands of lives. The Tomad incident ultimately resulted in the Treaty of Algeron, which forbid the Federation from developing cloaking technology and led the Romulans back into isolation for another 50 years. In the meantime, Starfleet continued to send ships on deep space missions into the Alpha and Beta quadrants, expanding their influence thanks to a great number of explorers like James Tiberius Kirk, captain of the USS Enterprise, who led a famous 5-year journey which brought many new worlds into the Federation. By the mid-24th century, a new conflict emerged as they neared the borders of the Cardassian Union, an emerging superpower which grew their strength by colonizing worlds, stripping them of resources and enslaving the population. Ruled by a deceptive and paranoid government, the Union was convinced conflict was inevitable, and so launched a sneak attack against Setlik III in the mistaken belief the Federation was using the planet as a staging ground for invasion. This battle was then followed by decades of war, ending with the Armistice of 2367 and a formal treaty in 2370, marking a new demilitarized border. With the war ending in a stalemate, a number of concessions were made on both sides, leaving several Cardassian worlds under Federation control and Federation planets as part of the Union. Feeling abandoned by the terms of the treaty, many of these colonies rebelled, resorting to guerrilla and terrorist tactics to fight the Cardassians, using the harsh environment of the Badlands as cover for their ships. Demanding their independence, these freedom fighters became known as the Maquis and were officially condemned by the Federation, though some actually sympathized, even abandoning their careers to join the struggle. In addition to the Cardassians, the Federation found themselves in conflict with the Telarians, Tholians, Zenkethi, and entered a state of Cold War with the Romulans when they re-emerged from isolation in the 2360s. Yet their growing friendship with the Klingon Empire meant no known enemy could pose a serious threat. Throughout these years, when the Federation found themselves as one of the two most powerful superpowers in the region, Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the flagship USS Enterprise D emerged as one of their greatest leaders, earning fame as an explorer, ambassador, diplomat, warrior, and man of deep moral conviction who proudly championed their laws but wasn't afraid to violate them when absolutely necessary. Armed with knowledge, wisdom, experience, and a gifted crew, Picard soon found himself on the front lines of war with a new and entirely unexpected danger threatening to destroy everything they'd created. In 2365, Captain Picard and the Enterprise crew were visited by a member of the Q Continuum. Highly advanced beings able to manipulate matter, time, and space, Q transported them 7,000 light-years away in order to show them the Borg, a highly advanced and hostile cybernetic species based out of the Delta Quadrant, which sent one of their powerful cube-shaped ships towards Earth. Later they learned that the Borg were responsible for the disappearance of several Federation and Romulan colonies throughout the 2360s, with hostilities ultimately culminating in the Battle of Wolf 359, when an armada of 40 Starfleet ships led by Admiral J.P. Hansen engaged the enemy. Not only were the Borg more advanced, without fear, and working with machine-like efficiency, but the attack was led by Locutus of Borg, formerly known as Jean-Luc Picard, who was captured and assimilated into the collective. Providing the invaders with all the information available in Picard's mind, the Borg won a resounding victory, destroying 39 of 40 ships, while leaving thousands dead or assimilated. Emerging practically undamaged, the Borg cube continued on towards Earth, but was ultimately defeated when Locutus was recaptured by the crew of the Enterprise, who used him to communicate with the enemy vessel and order it to self-destruct. Despite being returned to his human state, Picard was forever traumatized by the experience, as was Starfleet and the Federation government, which dedicated themselves to learning as much as possible about this threat, making them far more prepared when yet another cube invaded 6 years later. Although they suffered heavy casualties in the Battle of Sector 001, they destroyed the cube as it neared Earth, only for a smaller, spherical ship to emerge and escape by opening a temporal vortex. Chasing them into the past, Picard and the Enterprise E found themselves in 2063, where the Borg planned to prevent first contact between Vulcans and humans. Fortunately, the Enterprise crew destroyed the Borg sphere and played a part in ensuring first contact occurred before opening another temporal vortex to return to the 24th century. This temporal encounter with the Borg then had further ramifications, as some of the debris from the sphere landed on Earth and was discovered in 2153, causing several drones to activate and wreak havoc upon those they encountered. Although Jonathan Archer and his crew eliminated the threat, the Borg sent a signal to the collective, pointing the way towards Earth. Because they were so far away, this message would take 200 years to arrive at its destination, meaning this was likely the reason a cube was headed towards Earth in the 24th century. Yet the Borg threat was ultimately minimized significantly when they suffered a number of devastating defeats in the Delta Quadrant, losing ships, worlds, and even a transwarp hub, which allowed them to travel quickly into other parts of the galaxy. Some of this damage was done by the Undyne, also known as Species 8472, but the most devastating blows came from Captain Janeway and the crew of the USS Voyager, a Federation ship pulled into the Delta Quadrant by a mysterious alien being in 2371, forcing them to make the long 70,000 light-year journey back to Earth. Despite the difficulties they faced, Voyager survived and prospered, not only recording their findings for the Federation, but also making allies and discovering technologies which allowed them to defeat and escape from the Borg on a number of occasions. In the end, they won their war with the Borg by infecting them with a virus which cut off communication between drones, and hijacked a transwarp hub, using it to return to Earth before destroying it to further damage the enemy. Throughout the 2370s, as Voyager was busy exploring the Delta Quadrant and fighting the Borg, the Federation they left behind faced a number of new and terrible challenges, beginning with the discovery of the Bajoran wormhole, a gateway into a part of the Gamma Quadrant 70,000 light-years away. Excited by the potential for exploration and profit, many ships began to make their way through the wormhole, bringing them to the attention of the Dominion, a large and ancient superpower ruling over this part of the galaxy. Led by a species of highly intelligent and technologically advanced non-humanoid shapeshifters, the Founders were viewed as gods by their subjects, with their most faithful servants being two genetically engineered creations called the Vorta, who administered their holdings, and the Jem'Hadar, who fought their wars. Believing they were under threat from the humanoid species of the Alpha and Beta Quadrants, the Dominion took preemptive action, sending spies and infiltrators through the wormhole to destabilize the enemy before invasion. As a result of their sabotage, the Dominion lured the espionage agencies of the Cardassians and Romulans into a trap, massacring them in the Battle of the Omarion Nebula while presenting themselves as the aggrieved victims of an unprovoked attack. The Dominion's Shadow Campaign also led the Klingon Empire into short but devastating wars against the Cardassians and Federation, temporarily destroying their powerful alliance. By 2373, the Dominion successfully accomplished many of their early goals, signing non-aggression treaties with the Tholians, Miradorn, Bajor, and the Romulan Star Empire, while weakening the Cardassians, Klingons, and Federation. Soon, open war erupted throughout the Alpha and Beta Quadrants, seeing the Federation ally with the Klingons and Romulans, while the Cardassians and Breen sided with the Dominion. Leading the Federation war effort was Admiral William Ross, aided greatly by his adjutant, Benjamin Sisko, the commander of Deep Space Nine, who fought prominently on the front lines, in addition to providing crucial strategic and tactical advice. The war resulted in billions of casualties and saw attacks levied against Earth, Beta Z, Cardassia Prime, and many other planets, but in the end, the Federation alliance was victorious, with all parties signing the Treaty of Bajor in 2375. Among the terms of this treaty, pre-war borders were reinstated, meaning the Dominion lost all new territories and had to withdraw back into the Gamma Quadrant. Although peace was restored, the balance of power in the region shifted, and the Federation soon found themselves as the most significant superpower in the region. Having been on the front lines for much of the fighting, the Klingon Empire was left severely weakened, while the Cardassian Union was utterly devastated, enduring most of the war's collateral destruction. Although the Romulan Star Empire remained a rival for a few more years, they suffered a number of tragedies in the final decades of the 24th century, leaving them a shell of their former selves. The first step towards their downfall came in 2379, when the former slave-turned-war hero Shinzon led a coup against the Romulan government, killing many to gain control of the Star Empire. Once in command, he launched a genocidal attack against the Federation, only to be stopped by the Enterprise E and Captain Picard at the battle in the Basin Rift. After the death of so many within the Romulan government, they struggled to re-establish stability, and matters only grew worse in 2387 when Ambassador Spock was sent to stop a supernova from destroying Romulus but failed, resulting in the destruction of their homeworld. 2 years earlier, when evacuation efforts began on Romulus, the now Admiral Jean-Luc Picard helped organize an armada of rescue and support ships. Yet while they were away, a group of rogue synthetic lifeforms destroyed the Utopia Planitia shipyards of Mars. This attack was perpetrated by a secret Romulan cabal, which continued to infiltrate and influence the Federation for years to come, eventually bringing Picard out of retirement to investigate this hidden threat. As the decades and centuries went on, the Federation returned to their roots of exploration and peaceful cooperation, continuing to expand, bringing in new species like the Xindi and Klingons, while developing new technologies, including the ability to travel through time and manipulate the past. In the 26th century, the Federation defeated the Sphere Builders, who sought to conquer the galaxy, and by the 31st century, they were engaged in a Temporal Cold War with a number of rival factions. Yet even so, the Federation continued to fight for their ideals, with their agents assigned to protect the timeline from being altered. A special thanks to all those who contribute to Civilization X, like SithBen24, Average Soul, Barachado, and Barian the Soft Bastard Beesbury. If you'd like to help the channel, go to patreon.com/CivilizationX, where you can sign up and gain early access to videos, vote on future content, and access the Patreon-only series, Heroes of Lore and Legend.